What's going on? My name is Amy. Welcome to the channel. I am a 6 months day trader and I am quitting this. My apologies for the clickbait title, but this concept I'm going to share with you is so important. I wanted as many people as possible to get to see this video. And when I say I'm quitting, I'm not quitting day trading. Just put that out there, okay? What I'm quitting is a very unproductive habit, okay? And this habit was brought to light by a good friend, and I'm going to show you a quick story here, how this came to mind after today's trading session. So a year ago, I became friends with an actor who's on TV shows, Broadway, great guy. And I saw him as sort of like a mentor. And I asked him one time, I said, hey, what do you do when you're trying to achieve something and you really want to make progress, but you just feel like you're not living up to your potential? And he wrote back with this most astounding statement of, there's always tomorrow and I never beat myself up. And that is the habit that I'm going to quit. Okay. And I highly encourage you, if you've been day trading, especially if you're a beginner like me, if you've been trading less than a year, I kind of think that's beginner. I'm 6 months in. Just to kind of give you a background, on 3 of my 5 months completed profitable. I had 4 green days last week out of 5, but I've kind of just seen some things that I need to improve upon. And today's trading session, to be perfectly upfront with you, I broke one of my rules right after I stated it in my trading tribe in Telegram. And you can come hang out with us and trade together in my trading tribe on Telegram. There's a link down below in the description or the comments. And we just, we gather together in the pre-market real early in the morning for me. I'm on the Pacific Coast, so I'm, kind of scanning the pre-market about 3:45 my time. And that's where I started trading this morning. But what ended up happening was not the outcome I was looking for. And I broke one of my rules, which was I said I was only going to take 1 trade today. The reason why I chose to do that was because I wasn't profitable last week. I've been reviewing Ross Cameron's strategy, kind of just following this guy. He's my mentor in trading, and I feel like if I stick to one strategy, I'm going to win. And I know that I'm right with this because I've done it in the past with other hobbies, interests, career stuff. And so the entire week, trading like Ross Cameron. In fact, I'm doing a 20 trades experiment where I said, let's give it a full go. Let's do 20 trades. And I'm basically following the strategy that he teaches. I'm not in his warrior trading program. I'm just going off of the free, amazing content that he provides on YouTube and his book, Day Trading, The Plain Truth, I think it's called. And I'm just looking to implement one specific strategy because some of the stuff I learned in the very beginning when I was how to day trade on YouTube, his videos helped me just to get going. And I wasn't actively I'm only going to learn from him in the beginning, but the stuff that I did learn from him made me profitable those first couple of months. I didn't trade exactly like him. I mean, that's near impossible as a newbie. However, I like his strategy. I like that he's very much here's a formula. This is what I recommend. And that's been the, goal of what I've been trying to do with trading. Now, what ended up happening today was Tribe and I were chatting, and by the way, it's free to join if you have Telegram. Come on in. There's Telegram, by the way, you can use it on your phone or desktop. It's nice to have both. But we're chatting back and forth, scanning the stocks, and we all see KDLY pop up on the scanners. Now, a lot of people are asking, what do you guys use for scanners and whatnot? Combination of things. Some people have access to Ross's paid scanners in the group. They might share what's popping. I use Zendu on YouTube as well. Also use Trade Life Mastery. There's a guy that reached out to me, said he's got this beta website that he's basically got trade alerts popping up on, and it's been pretty accurate. I didn't use it today, but yeah, kind of it was just being called out in the group, so it was the reason why I jumped on this one and started looking at it, and it met all the criteria. The one thing I'll say before I say what happened next was when I looked at the stock, I noticed that the candles were wildly swinging, and by that I mean it could jump from $7 to $9 in a single 1 minute candle. And so the volatility was pretty darn strong. And I thought, I'm gonna wait, which I did, just to kind of see what would happen. Because some of you guys have seen, you know, it's like pop and drop all over the place, especially last week. Last week was really bad with this. But the overall market was doing well this morning. And I thought, okay, let's just give it a chance. I'm not gonna like jump in all crazy, but I want to make sure that this thing is showing strength and showing like it's going somewhere. It definitely did. And I jumped in at $13.11 a share. And I'm just buying 5 shares because I'm trading small position sizes, just trying to get good at executing my entries and my exits. And I see the sucker go up at least 20 cents over my entry point. And I'm thinking, okay, let's just get a small win. Let's just grab some profit. This thing might keep going, you know. That was my reasoning. Now, what ended up happening next, you know, I take responsibility. You know, this is me hitting the buttons. I'm using Thinkorswim, by the way, and I'm just using the buttons on the desktop because I've got it set to auto send. So as soon as I hit that button, boom, you know, it's going. I don't really want to do the hotkeys just yet because I feel like it's going to distract me having to look down at the keyboard and hit hotkeys until I get that memorized sometime down in the in the future. So when I say trade like Ross Cameron, I'm doing what I can to modify the strategy he has to best suit where I am at as a 6 months day trader. Okay. So when I see that I'm in profit, I'm like, okay, there's not like a sign of exiting. But Ross says try to capture those 10 cent, 20 cent moves and just get some wins under the belt, right? So I hit sell on the bid sell on the ask. And I realized in hindsight, that was the wrong button. I should have hit sell on the bid because this sucker was just moving like crazy time, right? Just, it would be a green candle, but it could range, dollars inside this candle. And this is an under $20 stock at the time. And when I hit the sell button, thinking I'm in profit, it shows a loss. And it was like $1.20, I think, let me see, $1.10, I believe. It puts me out at $12.80. And granted, I did look at the spread after the fact. There was about a 10-cent spread. So I probably got some slippage with that. However, that combined with the stock moving so quickly, I guess ended up making it so that I sold for a loss, which was not the intention at all. I really thought I had a green trade on this one. And I'm like, what the heck? So kind of forgetting my one trade of the day rule that I was supposed to follow, I was like, well, I'm getting back in, right? Revenge trading, warning. So I get back in, again, 5 shares, and you can see how much the stock moved. This was within like a minute. I get in at 15.74. So had I not tried to scalp so small, yes, I could have had a much bigger win when I did actually sell, and I would have a much better range than buying at 13.11 and getting stopped or selling for a loss. But like I said, I was just trying to capture that small win and just get a green under the belt. So I get in at 15.74. Here is where I just really am like, I gotta work on this, because this has happened to me a couple of times last week and again today, where I'm looking at the trade and I am seeing that the candle was moving. Like I said, that the average true range of these 1 minute candles were just all over the place. Now, the problem was I didn't look for confluences of when to exit. All I looked at was the P&L, and I saw, oh crap, I'm down $1.50 per share. Now, again, it's only 5 shares, but typically on these lower price stocks, you know, when you kind of look at, okay, where is my mental stop point? You know, it's usually that the prior candle or prior low candle is going to be somewhere in that maybe 20, 30, maybe 40 cent range. And I see this, I'm $1.50 away down, you know, from where my entry was. But the thing of it was the candle, as I'll show you here, it was still green. And I'm looking also at the 10-second chart, which I use Robinhood for my charts because I can customize it with different time frames. Can't do that on Thinkorswim, at least not a 10-second. And you can't do it on TradingView without having a paid plan. So that's why I use that. But here's the first entry, okay? You see my long line. That was the first trade I got in. And, you know, and you can see kind of like where it's consolidating there. At some point, you know, as I'm trying to take a profit on that one somehow got me out at a loss. And then the second entry, kind of, again, getting in on a consolidation move up here. And then, like I said, I don't, you know, it's one of these things like you try to go back in your memory and you're like, what was I thinking? And the thing is, you weren't thinking. The logical brain, left side, walked out. like it wasn't even working that time, okay? That couple of minutes I'm in this trade, that sucker had left the building, okay? All I'm operating on is emotions and right side brain. And I even put no candle under candle action, no reason to exit, right, on the second one. There's no candle under candle. Like, yes, the price fluctuated like crazy time, but there was no like mental stop area where I could have said, okay, if it comes down to this point. So all I was really looking at was where did I get in, you know? And that was kind of a mistake to say that that is the stopping area, or seeing that I was $1.50 from where I got in and that was the stop, because it really wasn't a great stop. Like my stop should have been probably, let's see, like the last pullback, probably about, what did I get out at? $13. I got in at $15.74, which is like a huge range, right? For a 1 minute candle on a under $20 stock. But that was the most obvious technical level, was somewhere in the $13 range. Yet I didn't look at that. And again, you can see my circle here. Oops. My circle, I circled that, you know, all these candles are above the 9 EMA, the 20 EMA, the VWAP. There was nothing even flushing below that. So there's no confluence right there. Nothing saying like, get out of the trade. And the MACD is positive, green, and the lines are open. So what went wrong here was Amy decides to look at only the P&L instead of following her strategy. Now, granted, this is the first time I've been in a trade where the candle moved that much and dropping, and yet the confluences weren't there. Because I can tell you that a lot of the trades I took last week, had they moved that much, yeah, it would have been, you know, MACD pointing down, crossover, things crossing below VWAP and whatnot. And yet this stock had so much bullish strength that it didn't show any of those things. So I think it's a little bit of lack of experience with something that moved like this, where I just didn't think, you know, and I should have, again, had a different stop, mental stop, because there's no actual stop in pre-market. I should have had a different mental stop, you know, and even back it up a couple more steps. If I saw that these candles were ranging $1, $2, $3, then you have to ask yourself, is it worth the risk of getting into that kind of a trade where it could drop that much in a 1 minute candle? And I think, you know, in hindsight, if I'd looked at that and I'd asked myself that question, I would have said, you know what, it's okay, because I'm just trading 5 shares and I'm okay, you know, with the volatility. but that question was never asked. Therefore, I'm not even looking at the correct mental stop. So of course, this stock rips to 22 and plus, I think eventually got all the way up to like 25. If I had just looked for the exit indicators like Ross actually teaches, this would have been a fantastic winning trade. Now, granted, I broke my rule and I should have taken that one trade. The reason I broke it in the time of me breaking it was that I thought that first trade was supposed to be green. And I'm like, I wouldn't have exited if I was going to see a negative. I would have stayed in that first trade. So, again, revenge trading, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So let's talk about quitting things. I am done with this idea of you gotta be disciplined and you gotta have all these freaking set rules that you will then beat the hell out of yourself if you don't follow. That I'm done with. I still believe in setting rules and having a strategy and having a plan. But this idea of putting yourself into some horrific mental state where you're like, I messed up again. Dang it, what did I do that? And you're just berating yourself, after the trade. You're analyzing what happened. You're beating yourself up again. I like to go for a walk, take my dogs out, go to the gym. If I had just kept running these events in my head and repeatedly telling myself, what the heck? What were you thinking? Why did you do that? Yada, yada. Like what I've been doing, beating myself up, right? I have learned from, previous jobs, mentors, education, things that I've gone through, that negative reinforcement does nothing for me. I've tried to do it to myself. Tried to be like, you think that having this stern attitude with yourself and being like a drill sergeant and, I gotta do this and this or I'm gonna have consequences. For me, it just doesn't work. I end up doing worse. It's just how it's happened. I've done it so many times that I know it does not work. In fact, things actually usually get worse. Positive reinforcement, on the other hand, is much better. And what I've been doing these last 6 months, probably 75-80% of the time, is I've been beating myself up for getting in at the wrong time, getting out at the wrong time, taking too much share size, trading the wrong stock, holding things too long, holding things overnight, turning a day trade into a swing trade. What the heck are you thinking, Amy? Like ridiculousness amount of negativity has been projected at myself. And somebody said something one time, and I don't remember if I read it in a book or saw it in a YouTube video, but they said, this might have even been Ross actually, they said when you're talking to a friend that trades and they have a drawdown, a bad trading day, something goes wrong, just not their day, you don't berate them, right? You are like sympathetic, empathetic, you encourage, say, hey, walk it off, go do something fun, take your mind off things. You give them that like support because you're a good friend and that's what they need. So why do you not do the same thing to yourself? Why are we our own worst enemy? Like, what is that? Why do we think better to lift other people up and yet we don't even lift ourselves? And what ends up happening is you perpetuate this negative cycle. And then you're almost like, this is, I think, one of the reasons why you might hesitate taking a trade. Because you are replaying your negative thoughts about all your other trades that you got in at the wrong time. It's a little bit of like, yeah, your memory's there, your past is up there, trying to haunt you or whatever. But a lot of it is the replay of the negative thoughts you've told yourself. And I have found myself in the past, hesitating to buy because I'm thinking, well, last time, I got in at the high. I don't want to do that again. I always do that. Right? So let me just kind of say this and then I'll go. Don't beat yourself up, right? Like, just do not beat yourself up, because I don't know if you're like me, but I feel like overall human beings, and you could say this with dogs too, okay? Like, there's my dog down there. She's sleeping. Scarlet. Okay, she's really sleeping. She's like, no, I'm not lifting my head. We do better, and the dogs do better with positive reinforcement. It's just the way it is, okay? Now, granted, you may have gone in the military or something like that. I don't necessarily think it's positive reinforcement there, and some people come out really strong and really great. That's awesome. I'm just in this camp of positive reinforcement is better. So in a situation like this, you say, okay, well, you broke your rule and you overtraded or revenge traded, and what do you do to improve now? Well, number one, I recognized that beating myself up is not going to change the situation for the better. So that is out. We're not doing that. Done with that. I recognize that today was very challenging to go for one trade, because when I got in that very first one and I exited thinking I was in profit and then I wasn't, I was like, no, I don't want to be done trading already. This is like 4:07 a.m. Pacific, so like 7:07. I mean, it was so early in the trading day. I was like, no, I don't want to be done. So that was one of the things I thought was like, okay, perhaps an improvement would be to just wait a little longer starting the trading session. I mean, I'd literally been sitting at the desk for like maybe 10, 15 minutes at that point. Maybe just waiting a little longer for the morning to develop, jumping in maybe around 4:30 for my time, when things are kind of a little more clear. I mean, KYDL, it was a stupid strong stock. Like, it was a fantastic KDLY, sorry. It was a great selection, but was it timed right for me, having just woken up like 20 minutes prior to jumping in that trade? Maybe not. So areas of improvement, slow down. Don't necessarily take that first 4 a.m. pop or 7 a.m. Eastern pop, because maybe you don't have any history. You don't really even know how the day is going to play out, right? And having the community, like Amy's Trading Tribe on Telegram, like, everybody in there is awesome. Like, because we're all there supportive. Many of us are beginners, and some people haven't even started yet. They're just looking to learn, looking for a community, and like me, and just happen to have people interested in coming in. Again, if you want to come hang out with us, we start trading pretty much that pre-market hour of like 7 a.m. Eastern, and then all throughout the day. Like, some people trade the open, some people trade like that first hour or two after the open, some people trade middle of the day. We have some, power hour people, and after the close. Like, pretty much most times of the trading day, you'll find others in there talking about what's going on. So very helpful. And it's just nice to have like that feeling of not being alone in this, where I know that if I didn't have like a community to talk and share with, I probably would have spent the rest of the day, or at least half the day, beating myself up and just continuing that negative cycle. So I thought, another area of improvement was to maybe look at stocks that, like Ross suggests, stocks $2 to $20, maybe kind of capping mine at $10. I think I might do a little better, because those stocks under, 10 or under, they probably are not going to have the crazy wide range of, ATR in the candle like this particular stock did today, being that it was, going well, and it was crazy. Like, it went past 10 like it was nothing, you know, and then it was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you know, it just kept going. But again, knowing that I had recently woken up, it's a little early, you know, kind of just some like, okay, thoughts about where to go from here. By the way, guys, sort of switching gears for a sec, last Friday, and I did a recap on Sunday, you can see my weekly trade recap. I talked about Charles Schwab, which owns Thinkorswim, charging me $6.95 per entry and exit of WBUY. Reason being, they said it went as an over-the-counter order instead of going through the NASDAQ market, because apparently that was the first day it was traded on that. True to their word, they honored the refund. I got that credited. So now I have my trader view fixed. And I updated it for today to include today's trade. And basically, I'll do this again at the end of the week and show you guys, you know, what I'm looking at on trader view. I'm just, by the way, using the free trial on this. So I think I have until Friday to decide if I'm going to keep using it. I really like it. It's very insightful. Like I said, go back on my channel, watch the recap where I said, you know, trading like a guru for a week, Ross Cameron. And yeah, it's just really eye-opening to kind of show you, hey, this is working, this isn't. So, but that's all I got for you guys. You know, feel free to check out my day trading resources also at the bottom down below description comments. This is a collection of all the things I feel like have helped me on my journey, books, audio, video, links to specific videos of Ross that I've watched and felt like have really helped me. And yeah, just got to put in your email and you can see the Google Doc. And then if you want to come join us in Amy's Trading Tribe, we'd be happy to have you on Telegram. Link down below. Like I said, that's free to join. And I'll catch you on the next one. Remember, don't beat yourself up. Take care.